What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's a moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 718, Achieving a Healthy, Happy Mindset with Paul Levitin.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine, excited for my guest who I've met in person at Podcast Movement at a podcast conference. And now we're podcasting together. It's perfect. Is Paul Levitin. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I know. What a crazy world. Meet in real life, and now we're internet podcasting all over the world. It's great.
Right? It's usually happens the other way around, is that you record a podcast together, and then we're like, oh, we should meet up sometime. I'm like, no, opposites. We met. Well, before we get into all of the things that you do and your coaching and training and all of the things that we had to chat about when we met, how did you feel about the podcast conference? I mean, other than us meeting and being able to podcast together, did you find that to be helpful, a worthy investment in money as far as learning from a conference?
For sure. I look at conferences more as like an experience. I never look at something that I'm going to go to like that, like, oh, what's the ROI on this? Because I've learned through fitness certifications and things like that, that you can't really put a monetary number on something that you learn. So like, because people will talk about that, in their CEUs and fitness and nutrition and things like that. And they're like, well, like, what am I going to get if I pay $1,000? Or what do I get out of it? But it's not like that. So with a conference like this, I mean, I learned a lot and that was great, but the real one, it was just fun. I met you, I met a lot of cool people. It was a fun time, but it was also the networking, I got to be a guest on other people's podcasts. People have been guests on my podcast, but also just the experience of being around that many like-minded people was very powerful for me. So it's like, especially for something like podcasting, where I'm literally sitting alone in my room with a microphone talking to myself half the time. It was cool to be around hundreds and thousands of people who are on the same journey, who are much further along their journey than I am. And there's something powerful about that. And, there's an analogy there for life. But
yeah, definitely. Well, you host the Healthy, Happy Human podcast. How long have you been doing that?
Just about under a year now. I started it. It was a COVID project. I was bored at home alone and had a lot of time on my hands. And podcasting is something that I love. I think that this is a super powerful medium. I think that, the long form conversations like we had when you came on my podcast, or, like we're going to have today, are really the best way. I mean, Instagram is cool and TikTok and whatever else, and you can learn a lot of stuff from there. But to really be able to dig deep into things, this is where I enjoy the most. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy having conversations. So, I think today, actually, the podcast episode that we recorded, you and I just released today.
Oh, nice.
And I think that was my 46th episode or something like that. So I'm coming up, I've been doing an episode a week. So I'm coming up on a year in a few weeks here.
That's exciting. So let's go back to the beginning of your journey of what brought you up to where you are now, being a coach, being a podcaster, everything else. So where did it all begin? You're from New York, right?
Yeah, I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. All of this began, I guess, with me becoming a personal trainer, which was completely by accident. I went to school. I went to college for business administration and marketing, and I was a bit of what you would call an F up in college. I don't know if we curse on this podcast.
Go for it, man.
All right. Well, I was a fuck up. I went to school. I did fine in school because I was just good at school. Like I was good at taking tests and I was good at bullshitting papers. So I got decent grades, but I mean, I spent more time at the bar than I did in class. I was sleeping all day. I was getting high. I was just, I was partying. I was having fun. And that was what I was doing at that age. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. But then I graduated with this degree. And I was like, oh wait, like now I actually have to get a job with this. Like I never even thought about what that meant. Like I just did business because people tell you like business is a reasonable thing to do. If you don't know what to do, just do business and then you'll figure it out from there. Well, then I got to the point where I had to figure it out. It was 2012, right after the recession, and people were not hiring. And I had this degree that I didn't even want, that I just like kind of did because, I was like having fun in college. And I was like, well, you go to college, that's what you're supposed to do. Whatever. So in that time, I started working out because I was like, well, at least if I'm going to be unemployed, I can look good while I'm unemployed. So I started to go to the gym for the first time. So this was like, I was like 22, and that's when I first started exercising. And I really, after a while, realized that clearly something was wrong because I was working out. I was going a lot. I was going to the gym 2-3 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. And I was eating what I thought was well, and nothing was happening. I was not getting the results that I thought I should be getting for the amount of effort that I was putting in. So I was like, all right, let me figure this out. And I just started to, read magazines back then. Again, early 2010s, there was YouTube existed, but it wasn't like now where Instagram and Facebook, and you just had so much fitness information flying at you. So I had to do a little bit of research, and I kind of started learning about fitness. And then I was still unemployed. So I was like, okay, well, I guess if I'm unemployed and I like fitness, like, why don't I just become a personal trainer for a little while? And like, I'll do that until I get a job with my degree. So it was always like, okay, this was like a stopgap thing. Like while I'm looking for jobs, I'll just be a personal trainer. And what ended up happening was through personal training, kind of fell in love with it. When I was good at it, it was this thing I just said, I like talking to people. Personal training is you're talking to people all the time. It's very one-to-one. It's very interpersonal. And then I got very into health and fitness, nutrition, that kind of stuff. And I just started to learn more about that side of things. So instead of me being like, okay, I'm just going to do this until I got an office job, I was like, well, screw an office job. I like wearing sweatpants and t-shirts all the time. And like, I'm just going to continue to do this. And I got really deep into the fitness side of things, corrective exercise and strength and conditioning and all that stuff. And then that led me naturally to nutrition. And then the next step for me was I got into psychology because what I learned through personal training for many years and nutrition coaching was that why is it that all of the answers are out there and yet people struggle so much? And that became when I really got into coaching and what I'm doing now with the Healthy Happy Human, my Healthy Happy Human podcast, the Healthy Happy Human Academy is, my coaching service and my online courses is all about why do people do the things that they do and how can I help people live a healthy, happy life? Understanding that to me, the answer is not just here's the best workout or here's the best diet, because if that was the answer, it would already be done.
Yeah.
Right. We have all the info. There's infinite YouTube videos, especially a lot of this came through COVID because during COVID, every personal trainer was doing, join me on Instagram Live for workouts. And, here's the free thing. And here's this. And it's like, literally, if you're thinking of it that way, it's like, there's no excuse, right? I'm at home. I have no work to do. I'm stuck at home. I have nothing better to do. And Instagram is streaming free workouts directly to my phone. There's literally no excuse. And yet here we are, fat, sick, overweight, sad, depressed, out of shape, whatever else, so clearly there's a disconnect between people living their healthiest, happiest life and, all of the stuff that's out there. And that's kind of where I find myself now and trying to help that place.
So where do you feel like that disconnect is? Have you been able to get a good grasp on figuring that out?
I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, if I figured that out, I would be probably flying around with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos going to space right now, because that's the answer to everything. That's the big question. Why is it everything lies on the other side of that? I want the thing, but I don't do the thing. I want to be rich, but I don't want to work. I want to be fit, but I don't want to exercise. And that is the human condition. And that's why it's so complex, because everything comes down to easier said than done, right? I can give you the answer right now. How do we get fit? Well, eat less and move more. Okay. How do I get rich? Well, work hard and save. Well, how do I get a good relationship? We'll talk to them, but all of that stuff is hard. And we don't want to do hard things, and we need to do hard things. It's a, simple and yet the hardest thing in the world at the same time. So there's a few different sides of it. To me, I teach what I call like the change loop. And I say AEA. A stands for awareness, E stands for education, and then A stands for action. So awareness, the first step is to just be aware of these things. Most people walk around in this unconscious incompetence, meaning that I don't know what I don't know, right? Like, people, you're talking about someone who's like like they don't even understand that there's a better way to eat. Like they're eating McDonald's all the time, or they eat fruit snacks. They're like, yeah, fruit snacks, all natural, has natural fruit flavors. Like that's good, right? You know, like people are just like, they don't even understand. And then we have so like the first thing I need to do is make someone aware, be like, okay, like there is a better way than this. Like what you're doing is not the most ideal. And like, this is what's going to happen if you continue down this path. The next step is education. Okay, I understand that I need to change, but how do I change that? And education is, okay, I understand that eating fruit snacks is not the same as eating fruit. How do I get fruit? How do I go grocery shopping? How do I, whatever the thing is, how do I meal plan? How do I write a grocery list or whatever? And then the last step is action, because we can have all the education and all the awareness in the world. If we're not taking action on it, then it doesn't really matter. And then it's a loop, because then you just start right back at the beginning with a new thing that you have to become aware of and get educated on and take action on. And this is just change in general. I use food and fitness as an analogy often because it's a very simple one for people to understand, but this is just everything in life. And there is no easy answer for this stuff. And again, if I had an easy answer for this, then like the world would not be 70% of American adults were overweight and, X% are obese, and there wouldn't be so many people dying from lifestyle diseases, which lifestyle diseases are literally diseases that we make ourselves that don't have to happen to us, that happen because of the way we live our lives. So it's the complicated stuff, but to me, that's the stuff that's worth talking about. Like I got very tired of talking about, well, should I be doing Bulgarian split squats, or should I be doing lunges, or should I be doing, hinges with my butt, whatever the fitness talk is. It's like, yeah, like I can talk about that stuff forever. I know it all, but it's just like, I don't think that's what's really helping people. There is a subsect of people who are already motivated. If you're already going to the gym and you're like I was, where you're like, okay, I'm working out, I'm doing the thing, but I'm not getting the result. Then we need to optimize. But most people are not there yet. They're at the place where like, I'm not doing the thing. So how do I get from doing nothing to doing something? And that's not through optimization. That's not through, okay, here's the best workout, here's the best diet plan. That's through habit change and behavior modification. And that's the hard stuff.
So how do you walk like through a client that's hiring you for that kind of coaching through that sort of thing? How do you get them to start creating new habits when we tend to, be a New Year's resolution mode of like, yeah, I'm changing this. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, yeah, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's the understanding that none of this is one size fits all. And that's why it's so complicated, because what people want is just tell me the answer, right?
Yeah.
Give me a meal plan. Give me the workout. Again, if it were that easy, it would be done. I use this sentence a lot because it is much harder than we want it to be. And that's the first thing. We have to accept how hard it's going to be and how challenging that this is. But in actual tactical things, some things are, one, understanding behavior change and understanding what we're really trying to do and understanding how to break things down into tiny chunks. Most people, the reason they fail is there's a few simple reasons. One, they take too big of bites, if you want to say it like that, right?
Yeah.
New Year's resolution is a perfect one. What's a New Year's resolution for most people? I'm going to be healthy. What does healthy mean? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to stop eating carbs. I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. I'm going to start going to sleep earlier. I'm going to start waking up earlier. I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week because that's how many times I'm supposed to go. And it's like, whoa, like you're already failed. Like you already bit off so much. You're made it so overwhelming that it's not going to work. When you and I spoke on my podcast, you talked about literally walking, taking tiny steps. And that's what the first thing, that's what it's all about. So what's the smallest possible step that I can take in the right direction that'll get me there? That's a part of it. I also need to understand the reality of time in all of this, right? And the number 2 reason why people fail, besides biting off more than they can chew, is trying to dictate the amount of time that this is going to take. Meaning, like, well, I've been working out for 6 months and I haven't got the result that I want. But it's like, well, okay, maybe it takes 8 months. Maybe it takes a year. You don't get to decide how long the result gets to take, right? It's the same thing as a business owner saying, well, like I've been working for a year. Like that's not how this works. What we can control is the inputs. We can't control the outcome, right? So if we focus on inputs and process, the outcome will come eventually. But that's why they say trust the process. You have to trust the process. There has to be some level of trust and understanding that even if it doesn't look exactly like how you want it, then it still can happen as long as you don't quit. Because that's the thing. If I think it's supposed to come in 4 weeks and then week 4 it doesn't come, I might quit. Yeah. Now, if I would have kept going to week 6, week 8, week 10, I would have gotten the result. But because I thought it was supposed to be by week 4, and like, well, I did it. I tried. I gave it the 4 weeks. Susie did it for 4 weeks and she got the result, but you're not Susie. Your body is different than Susie's. Your life is different than Susie's. She's single. You have 3 kids. She's, whatever the thing is, So it's like, we have these expectations of what things are supposed to look like. Should, right? Should is a big word that comes up a lot in my coaching. Oh, it should be like this. It should be like that. It's supposed to be like this. There is no should. There's no supposed to. There is only what is. So we have to respect that. And when we can do that, then we can stick with it, because the whole name of the game is how long can I stick with the thing long enough to not quit. And if I can do that, I'll get the result, right? Any diet will work if you stick to it long enough. You know, when I'm in the gym and people tell me about the best workout or ask me about the best workout, I'm like, the guys who are in the gym who look the best are not the people with the most efficient workout. They're the people who have been there the longest. They're the guys who started 10 years ago. They started going 4 days a week and they never stopped. And you know what? If they were just coming in here and banging their head against the wall for an hour, 4 days a week for 10 years, they would have lost weight because they'd be burning calories doing it. And that's more than most people can say. So it's not really about the exact thing. It's about how can we get you to keep going when you're going to get in your own way, right? You're going to say, this is dumb, this is stupid, this isn't working. You're going to want to quit. And how do we talk you back off that ledge long enough for you to stay in the game so that you can get a result? I don't know if that actually answered the question.
No, it does. So what are your feelings on things like challenges of like, you know, like an 8-week challenge or like a weight loss challenge or a shred or something like that?
I mean, they're great. Everything has to be respected for what it is. If you understand that an 8-week challenge is just 8 weeks and you can see awesome change in 8 weeks, or you might not see any change in 8 weeks, but what it can do is it'd be a great kickstart for you. So if you're someone who's like, I'm just not motivated, and then your friends are doing an 8-week challenge and like that, like you guys all do it together and it's like a cool thing and it gets you going. And that's awesome. I love that. That's great. I promote that till the day I die. But what I don't like is the 8-week challenge, assuming that an 8-week challenge is actually going to change something for the rest of my life. Like, okay, I did my 8-week challenge and like I get something out of that. Like the 8-week challenge just gets you started. Fitness, health, nutrition, mindset, healthy, happy with the stuff that I'm doing, this is for life. This is not for 8 weeks. This is not for 6 months. This is not for 6 years. This is for the rest of your life. This is for, if I have a client who's 50, I tell them all the time, you got 50 more years at least. If I have a client who's 30, you got 80 more years. Like I'm planning on these people living to triple digits at the very least. So to say something to do for 8 weeks is just like, okay, well, what the hell is that even? That's like, I watch shows longer than that, you know, like that it means nothing to me. You know, like I want change that's going to last for a lifetime. So a challenge is a great way to start that, but you have to know that like that's just a drop in the bucket.
Well, I think that, I mean, I totally agree with that statement, but I think that so many people, at least a lot of questions that I get are, well, a main question I get all the time is like, how do I get motivated? I wish I had your motivation. How do I find the motivation? And I think like those challenges, like you said, kickstart that motivation. But then I think people struggle with having motivation after that, or just the even motivation to get started. What would your answer to that be? So sorry to interrupt. We'll get an answer to that question here in just a minute. But first, I want to talk to you about my health coach, Sarah, with Team Fit With Me, because right now you can get 10% off month 1 of all packages, plans, and add-on services when you go to teamfitwithme.com/poundthis. Now, let me tell you about Sarah and what she does. It's one-on-one nutrition coaching and virtual personal training. So you got your exercise, you got your nutrition. On top of that, she specializes in functional health, including, but not limited to, all gut health conditions, thyroid diseases, PCOS, and hormonal dysfunction. You can get some labs run. That's how I found out I have Hashimoto's disease, which leads me to being gluten-free. And that was all through Sarah. And that goes through all the recommendations of her medical team. Plus, you can get meal plan add-on options reviewed by a registered dietitian, a food relationship coach partner who has been on this podcast, who is absolutely amazing. Lots of community support. So if you're looking for a great coach, a personal trainer to help you be accountable, give you the right information on nutrition and exercise, to give you the knowledge, to give you the tools so you can live your healthiest life, then go to teamfitwithme.com/poundthis. You're going to find all the links in the show notes.
Right, for sure. I mean, again, motivation is the thing, the number one thing I get asked as well. How do I get motivated? How do I get motivated? And again, if I had a pill that I could sell for motivation form, it would be it's sold on the number one selling item of all time, and everyone would buy it, and that would be that. So it's much more complicated and complex. And the thing that we have to understand is that like motivation isn't something that you can just have or not have. It's not like, oh, I'm motivated or I'm not. I'm sure that there are days when you wake up and you're just like, I don't want to do this, right? Uh, People talk about, oh, well, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I would say to that, well, that's kind of bullshit because I love my job and there's still days where my alarm goes off and I just want to go, oh my God, fuck, I just want to quit and go back to sleep. Like I do not care about any of this because that's just the human, that again, this is the human condition. We don't get to just be one thing. I'm not a motivated person. I am not a happy person. I'm not any one emotion or feeling. And motivation is an emotion, right? It sweeps over us at certain times, like January 1st, like birthdays often, like when we see someone else get a really good result, right? When my friend lost a bunch of weight, that usually motivates me because I'm like, oh, she can do it. I can do it. So what we can do is one, we can lean into these things, right? Lean into an 8-week challenge, lean into a January 1st, lean into the times where you have motivation, where you are riding that wave high. But again, coming back to respecting the reality of it's not always going to be there. And then what we have to do in order to not fall off when the motivation is low is we lean on our structures, right? That's really what it is. We lean on plans, we lean on schedules, we lean on the scaffolding that we build that holds the stuff up when the motivation isn't high. Because again, if we're just relying on motivation, it's great when we're motivated, but motivation it's a wave. It comes in highs and then the tide comes out and then it's gone. So if we're only waiting on that, then we're going to be that person who's like exactly that person. Well, I did the 8-week challenge and the 8-week challenge is done. Oh, well, then New Year's and then the New Year's is done. Well, then this and then that's done. So we can use that. Again, there's nothing wrong with being super motivated sometimes, like great, lean into it. But then what we need to do is have structure, accountability, scheduling, planning, have a program, right? That's great. Like same thing with like a workout. A lot of times if I go to the gym with no plan, and my motivation is low, I'm going to at best have a shit workout. At worst, I'm probably not going to work out at all. If I go to the gym with no plan and I'm motivated, I'll figure something out. But if I go to the gym and I'm not motivated and I have a plan written out by my coach, I'll just do the plan. I'll just run that because I'm like, okay, at least I know what to do. So I'm not relying on motivation. I'm relying on the structure that I put into place before the motivation was even an issue.
Yeah, totally. And I'm also a big believer of, your thoughts also create your reality. So I think so many people have like, tell yourself, well, I'm not motivated. I've done this before and I'll fail. I've done the 8-week challenge. And then afterwards I always fall off of like, of course you will, because you're already telling yourself the narrative that you're setting yourself up for failure. So I think that to me is such a big mindset shift of like, well, let's begin this thing by starting by saying, well, I can do this and I will do this. And yeah, there'll be failures and I'll fall down, but I'll pick myself back up again, because I just think telling yourself of like, I have no willpower, or I have no motivation is, well, then yeah, that's going to be true then, because you told yourself that. And I feel like so many people, and myself included, have fallen into that trap. And I don't think that when you're in the trap, you don't necessarily even see it. That where it's good to have a coach to be like, no, this is listen to how you're talking to yourself. This is not helping you in any way.
Right. 1,000%. I mean, it's funny. You literally just used the exact verbiage I use. I literally have a course, an 8-week course called Mindset Shift. And the very first lesson, very first week 1 is self-talk, and this is the first thing I send any new client is self-talk, because this is everything. This is it. Right. And then before we can talk about nutrition, before we can talk about fitness, before we can talk about your routines, your morning routine, your bedtime routine, you're getting control of your time, self-talk is everything. Because exactly like you said, you will follow the story that you tell yourself. So if the story that you're telling yourself is, well, I'm just not motivated, then you're going to stay that way. And if the story that you're telling yourself is that, well, every year I try my New Year's resolution and every year it fails, then every year you're going to try your New Year's resolution and every year it's going to fail. So we have to understand, again, the power that this stuff has. And this is not me being like, well, woo woo, like, oh, well, does that mean the opposite? Well, if I just tell myself that I'll succeed, then I will succeed. That this is not saying that either. What I'm saying is there's literally scientific reasoning for why this stuff matters, meaning your brain at any given time is choosing what to see and how to interpret things, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm driving to work and someone rear ends me, I can get out and be super upset. Oh my God, I'm going to be late now, and I have to call the insurance company, and like, this is, like you piece of shit, and I can start cursing them out and all this stuff. I can be driving to work and the same person can rear end me, and I can go, wow, is everyone okay? Oh my God, I'm so thankful that we're all fine and that this could have been so much worse. And wow, yeah, I'm going to be late for work, but you know, that this is honestly such a blessing that we're good. The exact same scenario, what changed was the lens through which I looked through it, right? The way I decided to interpret that situation. Nothing changed. It's the same car accident. It's just the way I decided to interpret that. And that is my brain's decision subconsciously. But the way I program my subconscious brain is through my self-talk. So if I'm always a negative person and the things I say are negative and I'm always, I can't, then my brain is going to interpret things negatively. So the only way I can sway that is by taking control of that and trying to use positive things. I use affirmations a lot. I use, see my room is covered in whiteboards and sticky notes, and I'm always reading things. And like, I want to program my subconscious brain to be positive so that in a moment like that, where I get into a fender bender or someone snaps at me or whatever the thing is, where I'm not thinking, it's my subconscious brain that's in control at that time. I've programmed it to be positive, and that comes from self-talk.
So have you always been this way, or was there a shift in your life where you're like, I got to change my mindset and we need to focus on things this way?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was not always this way. Like I said, in college, I was a fuck up. I was drinking all the time. I was partying all the time, and then also even after I became a personal trainer, I was drinking all the time, and it was even worse because now I was in New York City where personal trainers make a good amount of money. I was pretty busy, and like I was making money. I was making as much money as my friends with like big corporate jobs, and I was like, okay, like now I have all this money that. What am I doing? I'm a single 24-year-old. What am I going to go out and party? And I'm going to go stay out all night and drink. And I'm going to, stay out till 4 a.m. when I have clients at 6 a.m. and go straight to the gym for, smelling like alcohol. And like any time that I wasn't either working or drinking, I was just like, okay, well, like I'm already making money. What else do I need to do? I'm watching Netflix. I'm smoking weed. I'm just doing nothing, So, but in my head at the time, it was like, oh, okay, well, like I've got this all figured out. Like I'm making money. So like what else matters? And then again, eventually I kind of just discovered personal development, self-growth, whatever you want to call it. You can call it self-help if you like, but I discovered books and podcasts. That's why I'm so passionate about podcasts, specifically a few books. Think and Grow Rich is the first one. This book is like written in like the 1920s, and it's like the original self-help book. And I read this book and I was like, wait, like there's just something more there. And they kind of like, that was the first thing that just clicked to me to be like, at this time I was like 26 or something like that. Again, 26. And if I didn't start to grow, then I had peaked already. It was like, okay, I was making money at the gym, and was this the rest of my life? Was this to go out, party, drink, make money to fuel my vacations and my whatever, and like my vacations were just to go drink more. I was go to Vegas or go to Miami or something like that. Like that was my whole life. And then I started to read these books, and then I discovered podcasts, and I got opened up to this world of like, no, there is more out there. You can continually grow, you can continually be better. And that's when I started to learn about this stuff. And only through learning about this stuff did I get passionate about stuff like self-talk. If you would have asked me a few years ago what self-talk is, I'd have been like, that's some hippie bullshit. That doesn't matter. Like, go lift, shut the hell up. Like go lift some heavy weights. Like, only now, again, I respect it and understand it from a level of there's a truth behind it in terms of like people can talk about the energy of the universe and stuff like that. And like, I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff because again, you can't prove that. Even though I would say that I do believe that if I had to make a choice of like, is that real or not? Is like the energy we put out, is that like the secret, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Do I think it's real? Sure. But there's literally, again, we don't even have to talk about that side. We can talk about there's literally scientific reasoning for why this stuff works. There's the thing called the reticular activating system. A reticular activating system is a part of your brain. Everyone knows this feeling of, I got a new car, and all of a sudden I start seeing that new car everywhere on the street, right? I get a blue Subaru, and all of a sudden I see blue Subarus everywhere. And it's like, there's not more blue Subarus now. My brain, my reticular activating system is now just more in tune to seeing that because we're bred to see patterns. Okay. Meaning all of this comes from evolution. All of this comes from when we were hunters and gatherers or cavemen back tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of years ago. If I saw a berry bush, I needed to remember, if I ate that berry, did it poison me? Okay, I need to remember what that berry bush looks like so I don't eat the poison berries again. Or if it didn't, it's sweet. I need to remember where that berry bush is so that I can eat the sweet berries again. So we are in tune to patterns. My brain picks up on patterns. So now I can abuse that. I can use patterns to start forcing myself to see positive things. Again, my affirmations are positive. All around my room are positive sticky notes. If I keep putting positivity into my brain, when I get into that fender bender, I have two choices. Do I see the negative in it or do I see the positive in it? I've now programmed my brain to see the positive. So I mean, it's not like, again, like this is not me just being like, okay, like, well, believe in the universe will reciprocate or something like that. This is like literally like we're just using our brain, our neurochemistry, and like saying like, okay, like we can make our life better through that. So for me personally, again, when I understood that, I had a choice to make. Do I stay stuck? Do I stay middle of the road? Do I stay, 26, 27 years old and basically dead already because I haven't, because I'm already like, I think I've peaked somehow in my 20s, like thinking like I've got the world figured out because I can go out 3-4 nights a week and party. Like I was so naive at that time, but I decided no. I decided that instead of all that time that I was spending on drinking, on going out, that I would spend on going to seminars. That's when I started to, really get into that type of stuff, traveling, paying money for coaching, and that I would read more books and I would listen to more podcasts. So I just switched what I was investing my time in. It's a priorities thing. And then I saw how my life changed. And that's what made me passionate about spreading this message to others, because I saw both sides of the coin. I saw what it was like. Plenty of people are just like, yeah, well, like I'm okay how I'm doing. Again, I go to work and I get home and I'm too tired. So I just watch Netflix all day. And then I wake up and I do the same thing tomorrow. And it's like, I mean, I guess if you think that that's like the quality of life, but like people accept that because they think that that's all that there is. And they think that they can't have anything more. But that's what I'm passionate about giving people. It's like, no, like you can have a better life and you should have a better life. You deserve a better life. And it's really not that hard. You just have to know the strategies to get it and then act.
How do you feel like your life is now?
I mean, my life is, I don't want to say perfect. I can't complain. I mean, again, there's plenty of that I want my business to be stronger. I want to affect more people. But I mean, I'm happy every day, and that's the biggest thing to me. I'm healthy and I'm happy. Health, again, that's why I'm the healthy, happy human is my whole brand, is because I think those are the two things. Health is a part of it. There's two sides of the same coin. There's no health without happiness. There's no happiness without health to me. So it's physical and mental, because I can't truly live a happy life if my physical body can't be the vessel that takes me through that life. Right. Yeah. Like if, people, that's my whole thing. It's like, it's not about fitness. I don't care about how someone looks. I don't care about having 6-pack abs. What I care about is my friend saying, hey, we're going to go on a hike tomorrow, and me being able to do it and not having to say, oh, sorry, I have bad knees. Oh, sorry, I'm overweight. And because of that, I'm afraid that if we go on a 5-mile hike, I'm going to be the one that holds everyone back. And so I say no, I say that I'm busy, but really it's just me being self-conscious about not being able to keep up with everyone, because that's a thing that definitely happens to people.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's what I'm very passionate about, is like living that quality of life. And then happiness, to me, this is just my thing. I'm not a religious person. I'm not, I don't know what happens after we die. So then if that's the case, what I do know is that I get these 80, 90, 100, maybe 120 years if Elon Musk makes me into a cyborg. So yeah. That's what I get on this planet. And since I don't think that there's anything after that, then what do I want to do with those years? I want to enjoy them, and I want to live them to the fullest. To me, that again, I don't see, again, like I guess there's, and now again, like, people can go like, well, isn't that selfish or something? But to me, a happy life is also giving to others, right? That's helping my family. That's helping others. That's having podcasts like this where I'm spreading this message. So it's those two things. And if I can do those two things every day, then there's nothing more. I go to sleep every night content, and I wake up every day charged to do it again. Like there's no like, oh, like I dread anything like that. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm sure my life could be better, but I don't know what more I could ask for.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what are all of the things that you offer that somebody listening to this is like, oh yeah, I'm totally digging this conversation. I want to learn more from you. What can they do?
I mean, the best thing to do is to just reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. My name is just Paul Levitin, LinkedIn as well. I'm just Paul Levitin everywhere. It's just my name. You can check out my podcast, the Healthy, Happy Human podcast, because that's where I'm most active. And then what I offer people who want to really work with me is I offer one-to-one coaching, and I offer courses, like I said, like my course Mindset Shift, and some classes on things like self-talk, things like understanding. I try to connect the kind of that like woo-woo side of like, okay, like why should I care about something like self-talk, with like actually here's why you should care about it, and here's why it will affect your health, your nutrition, your fitness, or whatever the things that people really want. And make that bridge that gap for them to, yes, I know this is what you want, but here's what you need to be doing to be living the healthiest, happiest life and getting what you want, a full life, not just one where you have to be in the passive passenger seat. I want people to be active in their driver's seat of their life. So if people jive with that, then yeah, reach out to me.
That's awesome. I mean, I love what you're doing. I fully agree. And yeah, I think that mindset is, definitely step one and such a huge part of the process. And it's awesome that you're, putting that out into the world of going through your own process and what you've learned and what you continue to learn. And like what you just said, what's bringing you happiness is helping others kind of live their best life. I think that's truly amazing. And it was awesome being on your podcast, the Healthy, Happy Human podcast. So everybody can go check that out too and subscribe and, get more information from you. I also really enjoyed the episode where you talk about like coaching and coaches having coaches and stuff like that. I thought that was really informative and helpful for me also being a coach. And I'm glad that we got to connect at a conference where we both got to like learn and meet more people and grow in our own ways. And it's a perfect circle there.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I had a really great time.
AmandaValentineBites.com